It's getting more difficult to praise them from this point on. Only one of these segments I'm a particularly big fan of. By season 13, we're in fairly dire territory, but let's make the most of this, even if it means a brief video and an onslaught of very quick screen caps. Okay, Hex in the City. This one is just not very good. Well, components of it are good. The bizarre changes which occur to the family, except for Homer, the final destination-esque killing of Homer's friends and associates, and the collection of mythical creatures which the Lucky Charms trap attracts. The fundamental premise of this segment is kind of weak, though. Some gypsy casts a curse on Homer, the humour being partly derived from her being a banal stereotype. It might be considered offensive, perhaps, but first and foremost, it is just not very funny. The resolution is likably morbid, Bart dying and his parents acting slightly ambivalent to it. Yoda's appearance is welcome, but resolution is generally unsatisfying. What if the gypsy and that leprechaun got married? Kind of simple in my view. It's not a grounded premise, or not one which is potent or tangible. She casts a spell, all sorts of outlandish, wacky things happen, and then nothing really resolves itself. Feels like it was lazily written, even though some of the animation and variety of images is fairly enjoyable. Now I want to move on into the crowning segment of this episode, House of Wax. Quite like House of Wax, solidly animated, my first exposure to a design that resembled HAL 9000, assertively bloody, intensely creepy when I was a kid, and didn't know how it would end, assuming Homer was dead, and a terrifically sinister yet also rather amusing voice performance from then James Bond Pierce Brosnan. Brosnan's Bond films were unfortunately subpar. I'm not even overly fond of the fairly liked GoldenEye, though he is at least a decent actor, if not better. His turn as a villainous KGB agent in Mackenzie's Michael Caine starring The Fourth Protocol from 1987 is rather admirable, I think. Easily the best piece in this anthology, House of Wax might even be one of the better Treehouse of Horror segments after season 10, because whilst I enjoy these episodes tremendously during the classic run, even these episodes become sour after a while when it almost remains the show's greatest saving grace into the 21st century. But alas, all good things must come to an end, as all things generally, but some things, as I've said before, will go noticeably downhill before coming to an end. Ah, look at these green caps. Isn't just visually House of Wax intrinsically the most interesting of these three? If you're skeptical of this show, even Treehouse of Horrors after season 10, watch House of Wax again, but you'll have to fast forward so as to not suffer through Hex and the City, unless you want to view it, of course. I'll just conclude this out with the, at one time, memorable and enjoyable, when I was very young, Whiz Kids. Okay, so when I was young, it was exciting to see Harry Potter being acknowledged in popular culture as pre-established as The Simpsons, when Harry Potter at that time, and especially to me, was a very new series. Harry Potter himself actually appeared in the segment, which amused us greatly. I remember we all loved talking about this segment on the playground the next day, and I wasn't even the biggest fan of the Harry Potter series, books or films, but everyone around me seemed to totally love it. I was more into Star Wars, later Lord of the Rings, Marvel Comics stuff, and video games, or just Nintendo in general, but I was Harry Potter. Still, seeing all the imagery we knew in a Simpsons context was pretty wild and riveting for us. Watching it now, it is pretty flat, referencing a contemporary IP for its own sake, saying, hey guys, we know about and like Harry Potter too, let's all agree on something together, yay! It's a bit of a far cry as to why The Simpsons seemed cool during much of the 1990s. Not as gross as that Family Guy Star Wars trilogy which came out later. I remember we all liked Blue Harvest at the time, it wouldn't hold up now, but even as a mid-adolescent, I thought that Empire Strikes Back episode was utter garbage. WizKids just isn't funny. It isn't overly well animated looking at it now. Its best reference appears to be to Alien Resurrection, of all things, and the Harry Potter mania just seems dated and pandering in retrospect, without a doubt. To be fair to Harry Potter, I don't think a new creative IP has emerged since Harry Potter that has been bigger than Harry Potter. I'm willing to hear other examples, but don't underestimate or misremember how huge it was at the time, from 2002 to 2013 or so, when the books and films were still coming out. I know the Marvel Comics films have been supermassive, not sure if bigger, but those characters are pre-established. Most of them have been around since the 60s. It's a revival of those characters. They aren't new as such, although I'll acknowledge the popularity of the MCU and other related Marvel Comics film adaptations or television shows handily competes with what Harry Potter was. And no, Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire did not. One, because it didn't ensnare the children's demographic, rightfully so, and two, lots of adults didn't like Game of Thrones for the same reason they didn't watch or enjoy the Lord of the Rings films, though GOT was arguably bigger than even Jackson's trilogy was, I would presume. I'm actually really fond of those novels. I got into them via the show. I watched the show shortly after the third season finished. I had to know what happened next, so I ate up the novels and then taunted my schoolmates with what I knew would happen in the subsequent seasons. I have less fondness for the show than the novels. As soon as I began reading the novels, though I was thoroughly enjoying the show, I felt, this is way better, oh my goodness. I think people went overboard in hating on the show, but probably because they only watched the show and didn't read the books, so it's all they had. I resigned from taking the show seriously as an illustration of those texts long ago. Anyway, Treehouse of Horror 12. There will only be 3 more I discuss from here. Oh no, 2 more, excuse me. But we're going up to, because we're in season 13, going up to season 15, I got confused. There will only be 2 more I discuss from here, because after that they get hard to watch. I'm not suffering through those. Hey, if you somehow enjoy these videos, thanks. I do these for myself, to get thoughts off my mind, publicly upload them, and then I think harder and with more clarity about what I said, scrutinize it, and get to the core of where I feel. That's fundamentally why I do this. Hey, once again, thanks so very much again.